I am Dr. Tina J. Ramsey, podcast host and hostess with the mostest. This is CTR Media Network University, which we like to call CTR University, where we actually give you food for thought in regards to everything podcasting one-on-one to make you think about how you can position your podcast as a brand. We also have subscription opportunities available for you if you want something more customized to what you're doing. We can provide that for you, as well as providing for you other things if you want to be a part of our physical platform with CTR Media Network, because we actually provide websites, podcast promotion, and helping you with brand awareness for your podcast. And so, as you can see, that's pretty much of what we're going to do. Today's topic, our goal is to do these sessions in 10 minutes or less so that we can go ahead and give you food for thought. You can decide tips right then if you want, and just give you some food for thought on and different things like that. So today's topic is the art of interviewing. These are some things that I feel that all podcasters need to know, should at least think about. And if you would like to go deeper into this, of course, reach out about being a part of our subscription community or be a part of our elite CTR Media Network platform podcasters. So the art of interviewing. Let's talk about some tips and techniques for conducting interviews while you are interviewing on the podcast. One thing that I do feel that some people, it's two types of interviewing processes. It's scripted and unscripted. Okay. And so first you need to decide on whether you want to have a scripted podcast or an unscripted podcast. Now, the difference between it is when you are an unscripted podcast, that means that your podcast guests come on. Maybe you know some information about them already, or maybe they sent a bio or something, and you're just basically going on that information that you have before you, and you're just having a very candid, open discussion about whatever comes into your mind. It's a candid conversation based upon, they're throwing the ball at you with conversation. You're throwing the ball back to them in the conversation, and then you're building it organically, live or pre-recorded, and then your audience will be able to take part in it. But if you want to do something that is a little bit more scripted, that can prepare you for television, that can prepare you for a more scripted podcast on other platforms like Fox Soul, even though it's something like Sherry Shepherd Show, that is scripted, but it do have a piece of authenticity where it's dealing with, you're going to get some real organic engagement from your guests and your audience, but you have certain topics, certain bullet points that you're going to hit, that you know that you're going to hit during your segment. And this format works better for celebrities, work better for influencers, work better for individuals that has a specific audience, and they want to make sure when they are at your interview that they get the best bang for their investment. They're investing in you, or even if they're not, they want to make sure that they get all their points out so that their interview will be beneficial for them in order to market and position their brand. Now, some tips in regards to that. It's an art, whether you're scripted or not. Some people are naturally good at asking questions. My show, for the most part, is unscripted, right? And so I organically, because I have already did some research on the person, this is part of journalism 101. I will say no podcaster should ever let anyone come on their podcast and you have not done your research. Part of podcasting is a part of the journalism family, right? So being a journalist, you need to go and do research on your particular guest, whether they're an artist, whether they're a coach, whether they're an author, an influencer, celebrity. You need to collect information on them in order to create captivating questions to engage the audience so that it will be beneficial for not only the guests, but also the viewing and listening audience. So I have seen people who just let people come on and they just going off the top of their hand, the seat of their pants. And yeah, they get through the interview, but they're just talking. Remember in the previous videos, I'm talking about a difference between talking and having a discussion. So when you do that, going by the seat of your pants, sometimes if you don't already have the experience with having conversations that pull out the right topics and points, you'll just be talking, and yeah, you get through the interview, but it's really no food for thought for or no benefit from the guest or for the viewing and listening audience. So I would say make sure that you prepare. And if you're a person like, oh my God, I can't figure out what questions I want to ask, rest on this. Make sure that you always have 5 questions. If you're a person that have a hard time thinking about what questions to ask, you can stick to this. Who a person is, what they do, why they do it, how they do it, and who, what, when, why, and where, and where they do it. You go back to school, the 5 things: who, what, when, why, and where. And you ask questions based on those 5 words. Okay, so you ask them where they're from, who they are, why do they do what they do, how can they help, and when can we take advantage of what type of services or opportunities that they have available. And that goes into the where can they go. So all of these things is just basic interviewing one-on-one, whether you're scripted or unscripted. And then some shows are a little bit scripted and then a little bit ad-lib. So it just depends on what type of show, what type of format you is, but it's techniques to it. And so make sure when you're asking those what, when, how, and where, that it's in order so it can make sense. Because you don't want to start off with where can they get your stuff first. That don't make sense because your audience have not built up a relationship to know what they offer, why they do what they do. So a great point is to start off with who are you? Can you, for example, can you explain to us who are you and why you do what you do? Boom, they're explaining all this stuff to you. You make sure that you be a good listener, because the art of interviewing one-on-one is making sure that you are a good listener. All right. So when they're talking, you're listening. You're actively listening to engage so that in that conversation of whatever that statement or whatever that conversation that they're currently saying, you can pull out points from what they're saying and ask them to elaborate. Or maybe it's something that you feel that your viewing audience can benefit from that they said, and then when they get finished talking, you say, oh, let's dig a little bit deeper on this topic. You mentioned XYZ. Why did you say this? And how do you help with that? And what made you decide to do it this way? Boom. That's why you need to be a good listener, because if you're not a good listener, all those different little tips and different things is going to just fly over the top of your head. That's why you need to make sure that you're totally focused on your guests, giving them their 100% concentration so that you can pull out the best interview possible to utilize not only your guests in a good, positive, informative way, but most importantly, your viewing audience that taking that time out their busy day that they can get some good benefit from the gems or the knowledge or the information that's being displayed or being conveyed on your podcast. And it's a technique to it. And you will get better over time. I would encourage you to write bullet points down so that you can make sure that you stay within those platforms so that it will attract more people to want to be on your show when they see that you have an informative show. And those are just some of the techniques that you can have. Now, you can also take whatever their bio is or whatever information they give out to you, because you can ask your guests to provide a bio, which I would say everybody should ask their guests to provide information about themselves, about whatever they're offering and why they do what they do. You can even ask them to say, what do they want to talk about? You can decide whether or not you want to talk about that or not on your show. But I would encourage you to make sure that you get some sort of information and do your independent research. If you have no information, make sure you do some or very little information so that it will be a very good, thorough interview. Those are just some of the techniques that I would say that will help you, tips and techniques that will help you conduct an engaging interview on your podcast. And that is the art of interviewing. This has been this video. So make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to CTR Media Network. Make sure to follow me on the Tina Ramsey Show and podcast. If you'd like to be interviewed on my show or any of the other shows on CTR Media Network, just go to CTR Media Network, click the logo of the show which you want to be on, and register to be a guest. It's just that simple. And if you would like to get more customized information that's isolated to you and you only, make sure to join one of our elite opportunities, which is our subscription, which you can get information from me one-on-one, customized to you, or you can actually go to be a part of our CTR Media Network podcasting family, where you see all the different podcasters. You can be a part of that as well. Just ask for details by coming into my DMs, my PMs, and asking for more information. On that note, have a great, amazing rest of your day, and go out there and make sure you implement the art of interviewing in your next